I am not a big fan of MOBA games. There's just something not right about being stuck in a 40-minute game while the rest of your team spam racial slurs at one another like they're at a Trump rally or something. Maybe these type of games are just not for people like me, as I like playing games with good storytelling. Which is just not possible when every character's backstory can be summed up by vandalism found in a public bathroom. But hey, if there's one thing I understand about popularity, is that copycats and spin-offs are about as common as genetic diseases among royal families. So how about Riot Games? Now that you guys are raking enough money to afford lifetime therapy for all your employees, how about you make a game that might appeal to people who aren't sociopaths? Ruined King is a spin-off story about a group of League of Legends champions trying to save Blightwater from an evil mist conjured by some asshole trying to save his dead wife. You know, the usual marriage problems. And as far as villains are concerned, this is about as generic as you can get, right up there next to zombies or Satan. You see, the problem when it comes to writing a story involving a bunch of League of Legends champions is that Riot decided to appeal to every demographic as part of their Leave No Child Behind policy. You got a champion for the Katana fans, here's one for people who like to dress up as animals, there's one for people who are obsessed with nipples, and I have no idea who the fuck you're made to appeal to. But the point is, you have a gigantic diversity of characters with little to no connection to one another. And so when you're forced to write a story for a bunch of mismatched cosplayers, your options can become rather limited. You are either stuck with a story about stopping generic villain number 14 with plans to destroy the world because of reasons, or you can go for a character-driven story focusing on the journey of just a couple of characters, and quite frankly, I would have preferred the latter. See, this is why Arcane was successful. They spent their time growing the characters and left the setting for the most part in the background, like the in-laws in a family photo. But enough about the story, let's talk about the gameplay. The combat is turn-based. You know, the gentleman's way of fighting, with one unique twist. Each character's turn order is positioned in 3 separate lanes, and you are able to change your positions by alternating between slow heavy attacks for the sirs and fast light attacks for the misses. This is particularly handy for dodging periodic hazards, as well as squeezing in a tactical slap to interrupt a dangerous enemy attack. And I gotta say, I was rather engaged by this mechanic. It's always nice to see turn-based games encourage us to do something other than just spam our favorite spells, and instead offer a more problem-solving approach. Unfortunately, however, this is let down by the extremely low variety of enemies. Perhaps this was the result of some sort of falling out among the design team where everybody just ended up plagiarizing off each other. Regardless of the reason, traversing the map would often descend into a series of repetitive fisticuffs with a pirate ghost and 1 or 2 of his slightly different mates. The levels themselves are pretty much a vanilla ice cream dungeon crawler, with the occasional secret room mixing that can only be accessed by specific characters. But given the linear level design, it is unlikely you're going to miss out on anything too special. Outside of all that, you might encounter a puzzle or two. These usually come in the form of point the light at the door or push the ladder onto the wall variety. Not exactly trying to please the high achievers here, are we lads? There's also a fishing minigame used to unlock cosmetics, and during save points, party members offer some light PG banner among themselves in the form of a short cutscene. And personally, Airship Syndicate, I am disappointed in you. There are millions of League of Legends players deprived of human interaction who are trying your game for the first time. Here you are with the chance to provide them with the necessary fanfiction they need to grasp basic human behavior. And you let them down. For shame. I mean, come on. Think of all the sexual tension that would have been built up during those long loading screens, long nights at sea. All we wanted was to know what love between a fox lady and a samurai would look like. Why won't you show me? Joking aside, while all these individual nitpicks aren't necessarily deal breakers, putting them all together you end up with a rather bland experience. This is only made worse by the sheer number of enemies that litter the map. Hey guys, I thought we were exploring a deserted sunken temple. Where the fuck did all these other assholes come from? Now I know what you're gonna say. Cheeky, they need a lot of enemies because they drop crafting materials which you need to upgrade your gear to epic tier. Oh, are you talking about the same gear that gets replaced by greens as soon as you reach the next level? Why the fuck would anybody bother upgrading those? See, this is the kind of self-flagellation you expect from World of Warcraft, where every waking hour of gameplay is spent grinding for the highest numbers until the next tier is unlocked, and then you're back to square one to do it all over again. Listen fellas, I get that publishers these days pretty much force you to include some sort of crafting system, probably at gunpoint, but could you give us something more practical? How about a mount or something so that we can get around quicker? Or really anything that doesn't get burnt through faster than a press secretary working in the Trump administration. Overall, this game isn't terrible. It has its moments and it's ultimately harmless. However, one can't help but imagine what might happen in a dystopian future where Riot becomes richer than God. I mean, Christ, if they're able to casually share out an entire game just to promote a new champion, then what's next? What, are they gonna install a dictator in a developing country just to promote a new skin?